HUDs in UEFN can be a bit frustrating to deal with, but don't worry, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how literally everything important you need to know works, mostly surrounding widgets with a tiny bit of verse, but it's not necessary. This includes using HUD messages, displaying verse on the widget UI, working custom tracker UI that also supports multiple trackers, and lastly, module dialog widgets, or buttons for short, with also custom buttons too. Now just to let you know, if you want to know about the HUD controller, where you can display your player's name and icon, custom health bars, or move elements like the minimap around the UI, check out my HUD controller tutorial on the top right. Anyways, this video is quite jam-packed, so grab a snack and let's get to it. Alright, to get started with UIs, it's been going to content drawer, and there's something you need to make, okay? You right click, you want to go to user interface at the bottom here, and then you want to get a widget blueprint. Once you click this, you're going to get two options of a user widget and a module dialog variant. Now, okay, the difference between these two are that a user widget would not take the player's focus away from the game, so they'll be able to still play the game, while a module dialog variant will take the player's focus away from them, so they can't play the game or they can't do anything. So this is for like buttons and the button UI and stuff like that. So we're going to start off with just a user widget. Okay, we'll get into this later. Once we create it, it's going to be our HUD message. Now once we've made our widget blueprint, you want to click inside of it and you'll be greeted with this. Now, okay, to keep it simple in this tutorial, I'm going to show you two ways you can make a UI. One of them is really easy, one is a bit more tedious, but it has a bit more, you know, it has a less chance to break. First step for a first method, you need to get a canvas panel and drag it out. Basically, this is our player screen, okay? Now next, for example, let's say if I wanted to put an image inside my UI, I would want to grab something like an image, and then I want to drag it in, or put it down here, and then I'll add it to the UI up here. So the UI, I can drag it around, you know, do whatever I want with. So what I might do is I might make it a bit bigger in the middle here, and then over here in appearance in the bar brush, which is one of the things you'll need to manipulate our UI with. Okay, so I got this beautiful image of this cat. If I drag it into here, as you can see, look at that. Our cat is in our UI. Now, of course, remember, if you're going to put anything in your UIs, make sure you own the rights and everything to it if you're going to publish your map. Obviously, I don't own the rights to this image, but, you know, it's fine because I'm not going to publish this. This is for educational purposes only. Now, we got images. Now, what we can also do is we can grab some text up here. So I'll just grab this text block. Here we go. I might put it here. I might say text. Doesn't really matter. And then inside this text, I might scroll down a bit, and then I'm going to make the justification in the middle, so it's nice in the middle. That shall do it. Of course, I can go into here and I can change the different like typefaces, the size of the text, the letter spacing, skew amounts. Let's change the font material. Outline, that's a bit too much. I have to make this 5. You can see if you look close, there's now a bit of outline. And you can also change the outline color there too. Okay, I'll just keep it black. I'll just keep it black. Here's our text, and then here's our nice little image. Now, okay, so this is something really important you need to know, okay, about using canvas panels. In the Fortnite settings, each player can scale their HUD settings, so they can do 100%, or they can do all the way down to like 50, I think, and then up to like a big maximum. They can change the scale of their HUD. Now, okay, when you do custom HUD, it's very important you make sure that your custom HUD works with HUD scaling, because if it's not set up correctly, your HUD can look very bad very quickly. Just as a quick example, I'm just going to compile this, and just very quickly, I'm going to put this into a HUD message device, which is the device we need. So search up HUD message. Here it is. We'll drag it out. This is the HUD message device. This is what you need to make custom UI display on the player's screen if you're not using verse. In here, in the HUD message device, what you need to do is we'll just scroll down a bit, and then in the HUD widget, you want to replace that with the one we just made, which is HUD message. I'll put that in there. There we go. Boom. Now, just to go over all the settings in here, you have a message, which is actually, see this text right here? This is going to be our message later on when I bind it to stuff. I'll do that in a minute. You can also show on run start. Show on run start. Time for run start might make it instant. Background opacity. There's a bunch of settings you can change in here. Message recipient, you can make it only in team, all friendlies, enemies, or triggering player. Display time is important. So if you only want to show for like maybe 2 seconds, you can, or you can just turn it off and like it'll be infinite. Play sound is what sound plays when the thing is you know, shown on the HUD. So you can have a sound, or you can just go in here and clear it if you don't want any sound. Then in the placement, we'll get into that later. Then layer is important because there's 5 layers, and there's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can only have 4 HUDs layered atop each other, and make sure they're all different layers, otherwise they'll break. Next we have priority, and this is the priority in the layers. So if this is 0 priority, this is the highest priority, so this will be prioritized first. If let's say there's another HUD message in the same layer as 3, put that on maybe 5 priority, and that'll be the 5th in priority. Allow multiple in queue allows you to put HUD messages in queue. Show behavior of showing, you can either ignore it, reset display time, or replay. Queue timeouts, that's how long something can be in the queue before it just leaves. Intro animations is cool because you can do a lot of animations. I like to use slow fade and zoom. There's a bunch of different ones there. All of this here, it kind of gets overridden, except for a few of these, which you can actually change. I'll go into that later. And there's obviously the function which is show, hide, and then clear the layer, which will be the current layer that it's currently in. So it'll clear layer 3 if I did that. Well, I'm going to launch the session. I'm going to show you what happens if you don't have your HUD aligned correctly. Now in game, as you can see, the HUD's kind of off to the side. If I go back in here, as you can see, it's supposed to be in the center, but it's off to the side. This is because in our HUD message, just make sure, go into placements in here and make sure you have the right placement. So go down to custom, then in custom, there's a screen anchor, and you want to make that so we're going to make it center. There we go. But even with that, it still doesn't work. This is because our anchor inside of our UI is in the wrong place. And if you want to know where your anchor is, it's this little star thing up here. This is your anchor. Now, to make sure your HUD scales and will work correctly, you need to move your anchor to the middle of the screen where your UI is. Or you could just go into anchors up here and select middle. That'll automatically center your anchor. You want to do the same thing with your text. I want to do anchors, middle. There we go. So that's anchor to the center of the screen. So if I call it and then push my changes, and now would you look at that? Our UI is in the center of the screen. Now, as you can see, if I go into settings and then I go up to, where is it? HUD. Then I do my HUD scale. If I make my HUD scale really small at 43, you're going to see the image is still in the center of my screen. It's just a lot smaller. It's scaled correctly. And if I bring my HUD scale up to about 100, as you can see, a lot bigger in the center screen, and it still works pretty good. Now, okay, that's how you anchor to the middle. But let's say if I wanted to anchor it to this side over here, how would that work? If I move my HUD over here, I'm going to keep the anchor the same. I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to compile this, and I'm going to push changes. As you can see, at 100%, my HUD is priced pretty well. It works pretty well. It's pretty fine over there. But if I go into my HUD settings, as usual, if I bring my HUD down really low to 25%, you got to notice the thing is now more in the middle of the screen instead of being on the side of the screen like the rest of the UI. Now this is because our UI is scaling towards the center. So while it gets smaller, it's going to start moving towards the middle because that's where it's from. That makes sense. That's why it's going towards the middle here. For example, if let's go to halfway at 50, it's gonna be halfway from the side to the middle because again, it's scaling towards the center. Unlike if you see my map or my health bar, those are scaling towards the corners. So to fix this, we gotta do the exact same thing the other elements are doing in the UI, and we need to scale towards the side of the screen because that's where it is. So what you need to do is you want to go into anchors, you want to select the part of the screen that's the closest, so it's going to be right here. I'm going to anchor it to there. Now it's going to be anchored to right here on the screen. We'll do the same thing with text, and we're going to anchor that also to the side of the screen. And if we compile this, and then we go back in the game. And now if we start, you're going to notice again, it's going to be off in the middle somewhere. This is because we forgot to do our placement in our HUD message. So we want to make it so it's custom, and then screen enter, since we're putting it on the left, so we want to put it on center left, because that's where we're placing it. And you can actually see this more clearly if you go into HUD message, and then you go into placement here. You can see the placement and screen anchor. You can see all the different anchors here, which are the exact same things you can find inside of the HUD widgets in here. Same ones. You can just want to match it up to whatever you click here, or the closest one anyways. That shall do it. So if I go out, and then I start again, you should now see, now would you look at that, our HUD is in our place, and if we start scaling the HUD, right now it's 100%, if I make that 49%, you're going to see our HUD is now scaling towards the left side of the screen, and then if I make it bigger, you're going to see now, it works still, it's working. That's how HUD scaling works. It's very important to understand. Now there's actually another way you can make HUDs, and this is a more reliable way, but it's a bit more tedious to make. So what you need to do is, I'll just delete everything. I'm just going to delete all this, and then I'm going to get something called an overlay. I'll drag out the overlay here. Now this is an overlay, okay? Very different to a canvas panel. For example, if I drag in an image, we make that image the cat guy. There we go. As you can see, it's in the top left. If I try to move it around, you're going to notice I can't do anything. This is because to make overlays work, you need to work up here in the overlay slots. And you add padding and you do horizontal and vertical alignment. But for example, if I wanted to put this guy in the middle of the screen, I need to do this, which is the center line horizontally. Then I do the vertical alignment as the center alignment. And now he's centered in the middle of the screen, as you can see. Now let's say if I wanted to move him slightly, so I didn't want him in the middle of the screen, I wanted him off to the side to a bit. I need to do something called padding, and padding basically is how you move things in an overlay. If I do left and I do about 100 left, as you can see, oh, the left. If I do the opposite, like a minus 100, he'll move to the right. Now, wherever the horizontal alignment, the vertical alignment is, that's where the image will go. For example, if I wanted to put him back on the left of the screen, what I need to do is I need to do horizontal alignment left, and then it's already centered. And now, as you can see, he's going to be touching the side of the screen. But let's say if I didn't want him to touch the side of the screen, I'll do a little bit of, I'll do a left 100. That should do. So now he's, you know, off to the side of the screen. And of course, remember to make your placement in your HUD message device to where you need it. So it's going to be center left. And there you go. It's on the side of the screen. Okay, well, that's really how overlays work. I'm just going to just delete it though. I'm going to go back to a canvas panel. I'm going to add back in my image. And then I'm going to grab a text block. This is going to be our text. So this is how you would, let's say, for example, I wanted to change this text to something else, like anything I want. And I want to change it dynamically with different things. There's a few ways you can do it. This is the main way, okay? You need to go into view bindings down here. You click in here, and you're gonna see to add a widget to here, you need to make a view model. Basically, what view models are is the thing that devices need to use to be able to interact with your widget. So if I click on add view model, then in here you're gonna see a few options where there's a few different view models in here. But what we're gonna need a message view model. If I click this, you're gonna see there's a few we're gonna add a few options like different things like background color, background visibility, font size, outline strength, shadow offset, text, all this. If I just select this, as you can see, we now have this. If I just close this, we now have a view model for the HUD message device, which will allow us to control what's inside of here. So if I just do my anchors correctly again, there we go. I'll grab this text, and then I go into view bindings. I can add Widgets UEFN text block, which is our text block. Once I add this, it's going to add it to here. Now, okay, what we need to do is in our HUD message device, in these settings, as you can see, there's a setting here called for message, and in here we can type whatever I want, but it's not going to show it because this text is this our HUD is overriding it. What if I didn't want to show this? Okay, what I need to do is I go back to my HUD message, and then I want to go back to my bindings, and I need to bind the message from the HUD message device that we have this widget inside of into this text block and change the text of it. So what we need to do first is we need to go into here, go to UEFN text block, click into it, and we need to get the text of the text block. We're going to keep this the same because we're going into the widget. We're going to go into here, we're going to go into our top one here. We're going to have text, and we're going to put that in there. If I compile this, you're going to see will now work. But now we're putting the HUD messages text inside of this text block, and that text is this right here, the hello world. And now if I launch the session, as you can see, the text inside the text block is now been overridden by a HUD message device. For example, if I go into here and I change the text to whatever I want, so now if I start the game, as you can see, the text is different and it changes to what text is inside the HUD message device. Now that is actually not all. We can actually go back into HUD message. If you just place a plus sign and a new binding, we need to grab something called color and opacity. We'll grab that, and then we're going to put the color of the text color inside of here. So it's going to change the color of the text to the text color. So if I compile this and if I go out, the color of the text will now be affected by this setting on here called text color. So I can dynamically change the color text. So I can change the red, and now in game you're going to see the text is now red. But I think you can probably get what this does. You can change the color of the text inside the HUD message device itself. So you can have multiple HUD message devices with multiple different kinds of text, multiple different kinds of colors, etc, etc. Okay, now next up for HUD message device, we're going to do some verse. Okay, now if you don't care about verse, you can skip to the tracker, but we're just going to do some verse. I'm going to show you how you can control the message inside the HUD message device using verse. So for example, if we have a counter that's counting, like, you know, different like numbers, or you press a button, we're going to display that on the HUD. So what we can do is we can go, you know, we can do the regular stuff we just did. Make a widget blueprint, user widgets. This is going to be our verse HUD. You know the drill. I'll just put canvas panel, text block in the middle. I'll center that. Then I'll get this. I'll put the placement, center. There we go. That works. I'll override the widget to the one we need, which is verse HUD. There we go. And now go into here. We're going to view bindings. We'll add our view model. Then we'll get our message view model. You know how it goes. I've already done all this literally a second ago. We then add our text block. We're going to get our text. Then we're going to get the HUD messages text, and that's going to work. We compile that. But to control this with verse, okay, first we need to go into our verse explorer. Don't have it on your screen. You want to go into verse, and then you want to go down to verse explorer, click it, and I'm just gonna make a little window here. Then you want to right click on the top one. You want to add a new verse file project. We're going to call this HUD counter. There we go. And we're going to create one, and that's going to be save selected. Now, once you've made our HUD counter, what we need to do is we need to click on this verse button up here, or we can just click in the thing. It's going to open VS Code, and here we are in verse. Okay, so to get started, I'm just going to clean everything up. I'm just going to get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. Now, okay, if you're very unfamiliar with verse, I have a beginner's tutorial for it. So if you want to go watch that, you can. We need to make it editable, and we're going to make a button, and it's going to be of type button device equal to button underscore device with a little bit of this. What we need to do is we need to get our button. We're going to dot interacted with event dot subscribe, and we're going to get a function called count up. We're going to actually make another little thing. It's going to be a variable called counts, and it's going to be equal to, it's going to be of type int, and it's going to equal to 0 to start. We're going to make this function in a second, but we're just going to add another editable just very quickly. We're going to need a HUD message device. Then we type HUD underscore message underscore device, and it's going to be equal to HUD message device with double brackets. So this is like the button device. So now we have a HUD message device. We can edit, and we'll do that in a minute. We're going to make the function called count up, and this is going to be a function that's going to count up our thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to do set count, which is our thing up there. We're going to make that plus equals to 1. That's the exact same thing as count, running out something like count plus 1. That's literally the exact same thing. So this means the exact thing. It's just a shorter version of it. We're just adding 1 to count. Then what we need to do is to get a HUD message device. We're going to grab a thing called set text, and this is going to set the text. But if you look in there, we're going to need text message. So if we go in here, we'll just put our message in here. So we'll just grab something like this. Then we're going to do count equals, and then we're going to initiate our count, which is using these little curly brackets. So we're going to put an integer instead of string. So we're going to do count. There we go. But you're going to notice it doesn't work because this, as you can see, is a string, and we need of type message for a HUD message device. So how do we change this to a type of message? So what we need to do first is we're going to make a function called string to message, just because it's like converting it. Then we'll do brackets, and then in here we're going to make something called a string of type string, and this is going to be our string we're going to pass in. Then we're going to do colon. Then we need we're not going to do of type void because we need a return type of message. So we're going to do message equals. So next what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 of these. We're going to make a string, and we're going to instantiate our string here, which is this guy, and we're going to put that inside of there. But as you can see, it's still not working. This is because we need a specifier called localizes, and that will allow us to convert it to a string. Next step, what we need to do is we need to use our string to message function down in here to convert this string to a message. So we'll do string to message, and then we'll do a bracket, and we'll just put our string here inside the message, and there we go. I'm going to say count up will fail. This is because we need to type agents, so what you just do is just put the agent in here. I'm not going to use this agent, but it fixes it. And voila, there we go. And if we build it, it builds successfully. So now what we do next is we need to get a content drawer. First, we find a button. What do you look at that? I already found a button. And then we have a button, and this is going to be our counter. So count up, 0.5 delay, interaction radius doesn't matter. I don't really care about any of that. And then we need to get our verse device. We can go into our content drawer. We need to find a HUD controller down here and bring it out. This is our HUD device. I'm going to make it not visible in game. And then we're going to have to assign our button and our HUD message device, which are these two right here. So we got our button first. We're going to grab this little dropper, a button, grab the little dropper, and get HUD message device. So now these are connected to our verse. So now our HUD with this text block that's binded to this HUD message can now be overridden by the verse code in here. So what we can do is we'll just push changes and we'll see how this works. Also, if you want, you can make this 0 in here. Sometimes it doesn't show, but who cares? As you can see now, we can now count up the UI. Would you look at that? This is how you would control a HUD message device using verse and display it onto a custom UI. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So next up, I'm going to just delete all of this. I'm going to just make a new one. It's going to be another user widget. This is going to be our tracker HUD, okay? We're going to do some tracker. So if you want to make a tracker HUD, first you go into view bindings, and we need to get the right view model. Just like the HUD message device, and just like something like anything else really, we need the tracker view model down here. If we add this, we're going to be able to now use the tracker. And the next what we need is a tracker device. So let's find it here. There it is. We'll bring it out. This is a tracker device. Now there's lots of options in here. What we need to do is go HUD widgets, and as you know, you got to swap it to our tracker HUD. And as you know, in here there are a lot of options and a lot of things. Now I'm not going to go into detail here. I have a tutorial about all of this. This is how you can just display the target value, the starting value, the tracker title, and description on the HUD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do eliminations. I'm going to do 5, maybe is the max. Tracker title will be kill things, and then the description will be do it. now, now this is gonna be our description. This is our target value and starting value. So if I go back to my tracker HUD, trackers are weird because unlike a HUD mesh device, the anchor is, you can't change it. Okay, so for example, if I were to go into here, my canvas panel, and if I were to drag in a text block, this anchor here, it doesn't change. This is always going to be somewhere like, I think it's around here on the screen. It's always going to be there. So no matter where you put your text in your tracker, usually you want it in the top left because that's where the tracker usually is, and that's the best place to put it because it scales correctly and everything. If you don't put it there, it might look really weird. So I've imported this, which is going to be a tracker background, and now we're going to need a few texts. This is going to be our title. This is our title. This is going to be our description. Now, you don't need a description if you don't want, but I'm going to put a description. Now, our title is going to be bigger, so I'm going to put the size up. I also might actually do both of them, and then I'm going to make it so they have outline, because they look kind of, you can't really read it. So now they have outline. That should do. I'll make the size of this. Description is going to be a bit smaller, maybe up that size. Text is going to be here, and the description is going to be here. You can put this anywhere you like, okay? I'm just going to put it here. This is going to be a description, and I'm going to move this down so the text, whatever I write, will fit in there. Inside our text, we want to do auto wrapping text. So if the description is longer, so if I'm doing like, please help me, I'm in trouble, the goblins are killing me. As you can see now, the text will wrap. So if I didn't have auto wrapping on, the text will go off the screen like this, which you don't want. So there we go. So you can also change the justification as you saw earlier, and so you can make it middle or left or right. Make it right, and I'm just gonna leave this as description. This is going to, I'm gonna make the text in here called title, so it makes more sense. There it goes. This is our little tracker HUD, and now what we do is we'll grab another text block. I'm gonna copy the title because it's better for the numbers. Move it here, and this is gonna be I'm gonna make it 0. That's gonna be our current number or our current value. I'll make the text size a bit bigger. I'm gonna size the contents. I'm using these because when I click on this, I'm clicking the background. It's kind of annoying. So I might just move the background. That will work for now. And then I'm going to copy this now. And then we're going to get another number over here, which is going to be this is going to be our target value. Now you can change the size of these if you want. And that's it. And then we need another one. And this is going to be our little slash in the middle. That's going to show us the difference. So you can move this over here if you want, just so it's a bit better maybe. And then we'll just move our background back up. And then make it a bit longer, shorter, however you like. Now this background can be literally anything. It doesn't have to be this yellow like pill thing. I'm just using that for our for the moment. I need to actually rename this to, this is gonna be our value. The slash is just gonna be slash, and then our last one is going to be our target value. Remember, you can change all of these if you need to. Okay. So what you also want to do is turn off size to content, and then just go down here and move the justification to the middle. So if this is 1, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be 10, it's there. There's the 500, it's gonna be like that. But you can make the text smaller if you're gonna go all the way to 500. So for example, I'm gonna make the starting value 0. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what these numbers are. It's just gonna be for a proof of example. Make size of content off, and then I'm gonna make this here. That's gonna be the target value. So maybe 10, for example. So it's now going to be like that. If I go back into here, I might make a target value 10, so it makes sense. Now remember, these are going to update to whatever you have in your tracker in here. So target value will update, starting value update, tracker title will update, which is going to be the title there, and the description will update because it's here. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now we have our HUD set up. Next up, we gotta do our view bindings. So we're going to view bindings, and we're going to start off with the title first, because this is the easiest. We're going to here, like the HUD widget before. We need to get the text. We then need to go into the tracker. We then need to find the name. And that's going to be our title. So now whatever is in the tracker's title will be which is kill things, which will be the name inside the title in here. Then we need a description. So I'll add a widget description. And then this will be another one, which is also going to be text. Keep that the same. And then we'll then get the description of the tracker, which will then now become the description in here, which again is do it. Okay, now this is where it gets a bit different. So we're going to get the value, which is going to be 1. We're going to get 1, and this is going to be the widget value. So we need to get the text of it. And the problem here is that the value is an integer. but we're using text, so we can, which is a string, so we can't actually use a value straight up. So if I do this, then if I go down here and grab the value, as you can see, if I try to build this, it's not going to work because this is not what we need. So we need to convert the value of the thing, which is integer, into a string. To do this, we need to get a conversion function, and then we'll get two text integer, and then we'll get the value, which is going to be our value down here. So now compile this. Our value inside our tracker, which is 0 right now, and whatever it updates as is going to be where the 1 is. Kind of like it, we're going to do our target value, which is 10. We add that with the target value. Then we'll get the text. We'll then need to get a two text integer, and we get a value, which is going to be our target value down here. And now we have assigned all of this to our widgets. If we put this tracker HUD inside of our tracker down here, so what we just need now is something to kill because it's eliminations. So I'm pretty sure if we go down here, we need to make sure that non-player eliminations count because I'm killing AI. I'm just gonna grab a creature spawner. There we go. This is gonna spawn a bunch of creatures. So now once I spawn in, I'll be able to shoot these guys. This tracker should become my tracker, and then when these zombies spawn, I should be able to kill them, and the tracker should increment. So now if I spawn, you should see my tracker in the top left. There it is. And now if I grab my gun, if I shoot them, as you can see, the tracker is incrementing. So we now have made a custom tracker that actually works. Would you look at that? So as you can see, once I complete the tracker, there we go. As you can see, the tracker will now go away, and I've completed it. Unlike any other tracker, when you complete it, you can get the function when complete, and you can do whatever you want with it. So that's how you would make a custom tracker UI and make it all work. Okay, hold on just a minute. When I was making this, if you look, the anchor is in the wrong place. So if I just copy the anchor and then I just paste it here, so that should make it actually more accurate to where it should be on the screen because it was a bit lower than it should be. Now if I start the game, as you can see, the tracker is more in the area it should be. Now there's another thing that I can do. You can actually put multiple trackers on the HUD at once. So for example, if I were to, I'm just gonna make another tracker. And this is going to be a different thing that's going to be completely different. That's going to have events. It's going to be 2, and it's going to be press buttons or something. It doesn't really matter what it is. This is just purely for an example. I'm not going to set it up or anything. But what I'm going to do is, now if I go into game, if I just push my changes. Now the way trackers work is that it kind of like puts it on the HUD. Like you can have a max of 6 trackers on the HUD. But to make sure this actually works, you want to go to outliner. You want to then go into settings. For settings, go back into details, and then you want to find max trackers. And right now it's max trackers on HUD is 0 or 1, so you want to make that 6. And now if I go into game with these 2 trackers, you're going to see you now have 2 trackers on the HUD, and it automatically just moves the tracker down, which is very, very helpful. Now obviously these trackers are a bit huge on the screen, so what you can do about it is that just make them smaller. Just make them a bit smaller. So remember, it's going to default to where it is here, which is going to be right here. So basically, the way the tracker works is that it will have, when you have multiple trackers on the same HUD, it'll automatically change the spot of the tracker. You just need to put in like the anchor right here. And when you have multiple trackers, it automatically moves the anchor where it needs to go, because that's how trackers work. What's annoying is that you can't really put it really anywhere else besides the top up here, which is kind of sad, but you know how it goes. Now if you look at the trackers are gonna be a bit smaller. They're a bit offset wrong. This is because I think I put this a bit too high. It's gonna be more down there. Just move this all down. Then I'm going to copy this anchor, and then I'm going to paste this anchor into all of these. So now all of these will have the same anchor. There we go. And as you can see in our HUD, there's a few issues with it because of that. The text kind of clips into each other, but you can easily fix that. But this is how you'd make multiple trackers on the HUD. And just for scientific research purposes, now this is what 6 trackers would look like on your HUD. So this is how you would make multiple trackers for your HUD. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And also using verse, you can also set the description text, set target, get to target. You can set the value, which is the one for all players. This will be the one if it's only specific to a team, and this is the one if it's only per player. You can also get the value for all of these as well, and you can set the title text, and you can do all that. And you do it like how I did with the HUD message if you just rewind. So for example, if I wanted to change the tracker device, I would then instead of this, I might do tracker, and then I might do set value, and I don't have to actually change the string to text. So the value is now count. That makes sense. You get me? You can do it like that. So that's how you make a custom tracker UI. So next up, what we're gonna do is if I right click, if you remember from earlier, when I made a user interface widget or whatever, there's another version called a module dialog variant. Now, this, again, like I said before, this is for buttons. So we're going to make a UI that can use buttons. So if we click into here, this is going to be our button UI. This is our dialog button, whatever. In here, we'll just do a big canvas panel. And then in here now, okay, we now can use these buttons, which is button loud, quiet, regular, or slider. So if I go into here, if I get the button loud, so you can see it looks like this. This is a loud button. This little like thing on the side won't be there, so the text will actually fit, if that makes sense. So for example, I'll make this button, I'll make this gonna be button 1, I guess, I don't know. That's button 1. Then we make, this is a quiet button, which is that, and then a regular button is this. So there's a few different little button styles. Here's our button UI. So we made a few buttons. And now, for example, if I compile this, then once I do that, and then I want to go contour, we need a string device called a pop-up dialog device. Here it is right here. We'll go out here. Would you look at that? Pop-up dialog device. Now in here, again, you can make a title description. You can do button 1 text, button 2 text. You can do response type, and there's 2 buttons up to 6 buttons. You can only have a max of 6 buttons using this. If you want to have more, you need to make a custom verse UI, which I'm not going over in this video. I'm trying to keep it simple. So we're just gonna use the pop-up dialog device. So as you can probably tell, there's a title, a description, there's also 6 buttons. You can change the text of all the buttons, and you can also, you know, do whatever. So you probably can tell if you go into dialog button, if you go down to the view bindings, we'll make it already has a view model because we made a dialog variant, so we'll just add in our button. We'll then get the text of our button, and then we're going to add in this here, and we're going to get the button 1 main text. So that will give us the text. That's going to make the text of this. Actually, I got the wrong widget. Sorry, this should be actually button 2. Showing it, yeah. So that will give us button 2 text, which is cancel, and then button 1 up here. We'll make button 1 the text. So get the main text of button 1. So now the other buttons will be the right text. Then regular one down here will be button 3. So we'll get the text of that. We'll get button 3 main text. There we go, perfect. So now whatever we put in here, it's gonna be start. This can be like options. This is a quick example. This can be like exit. You know what I mean? And I forgot to mention, you can actually change the when you're using buttons, you actually don't need to bother with the anchors. It just works already, so you don't have to do anything with anchors. And then inside of our thing, and I need to make sure auto display. I'm just gonna make it displaying image start, but you can display it whenever you like on show and hide, and show it all and hide from all. And also don't forget, you need to go below all the way down to here. You need to find module widget, and you're gonna put in our dialog button in here, and there we go. So now in game, as you can see, we have start, options, and exit. So I'll just click on it. Don't do anything right now, but yeah, they're on my screen. Now okay, to make them actually do stuff, what you need to do is, again, if you remember in the HUD thing, there's in the events there is responding on button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And to actually bind these buttons to make them do stuff, what we need to do is we go into view bindings, then I think this is the first one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plus onto it, so we make a new binding. We need to make it so it's one way to view model instead of one way to widget, so it's opposite. Then in here we need to go into conversion functions, and we need to find the get response button 1, which is, you know, because it's button 1. We'll grab that, and then it's going to put it down here. And what we can do is we'll grab this, then we will get the view model, and then in here what we're going to go find is response. Then we'll grab that. And then we're going to bind this to which button we want, so which is going to be the loud button on click event. Now get response button 1 is now binded to the click event, so when you click this button, if I compile that, it works, so it works. Then if I do quiet button, do the exact same thing I just did, which is getting the changing it, getting the version function button 2, button 2, then getting the response from the view model, then finding our button in here, which is the quiet button, and then getting a click event. And then finally our last button. In here we just gotta get we want to swap it, then find it down here, get our conversion function, get a response number 3, create a model response. Go down a bit, there we go. And we'll find our button, there it is, click event. And now our buttons are now binded to the click events of here. So now on responding button 1, on responding button 2, and on responding button 3 now, these are the events that we can now track. So what we can do is, for an example, I'm gonna get something called an item granter. Then inside of here, I'm gonna get a gold, there we go. So in here, I'm gonna make the first button gold. You know how it works. The rest will work too now. So this will grant the item when the player clicks this button right here. On responding button 1. So now you'll get some gold if you press the button. And now in game, if I click my gold button, Okay, look at that. I got some gold. So it works. And the other buttons should work as well. So this is pretty self-explanatory, it's just buttons. But there's one final thing in this video I'm going to do. I want to show you to make some custom buttons. So you can't really edit the style of the button, like the background you can't edit the text or anything like that. But there's actually a way you can. So if we go over here, so to do this, we need to right click, but instead of going to user interface, we go up the blueprint class. Once we're in here, we need to scroll down until you find visual. Then you need to go into visual, go to widget, use your widgets. In the common user widgets, then you want to find button base, and then in here for button, keep going. And then if you go into the loud button or any button you like, you want to make one of these, which is you're going to make a button blueprint. And that's going to be our custom button. Kind of like in here, you see how there's like in UKit, there is button loud, button quiet, button regular. We now have custom button here that we can drag in and use. That makes sense. So basically what we can do is inside of this custom button, if we go inside of here, this is what it looks like, okay? Just keep it the same, it doesn't matter. But in here, as you can now see, you can now change the background material and also the border material. So what I've just imported is a button texture right here. And what we can do is in custom button, if we try to drag it in, you're going to notice we can't because we still have to make a material first. But we want to right click, I'm going to go into material. We'll make a new material, and this is going to be our button. Then inside this material, what I'm going to do is you want to make it so the material domain is a user interface. Now it's just a user interface. Oh, you want to make it translucent. Then we want to get our button texture and bring it out. Here it is. We want to put RGB into final color, and then we put A into opacity. We apply that. That should give us a button now. Now with our button made, you're going to notice even if I drag this in, it still doesn't work. This is because we need to make this material instance by going up to here and create material instance. Just make it there. Now we have it, and now look at that, it now works. So now if we go back into our main dialog thing, we can now drag in our custom button, and as you can see, the button is now, it now looks like this. So now we have a custom button, and now we can, like, you know, I just deleted everything to make it simpler. And now if I go to the view bindings, I got my custom button. You know how this goes. Gotta do the view model, then I need to find conversion function. I do button 1 for this, and then I'm gonna get the creative dialog, get response, and then I'm gonna get the custom button in the canvas panel, which is this guy, and then we're gonna grab it. Click event. So now when you click it, it works. Now let's say if we want to add a custom like text to our button. Right now we can't because it looks kind of bad. So what we can do actually is we'll just delete all the text inside of the button, so it's gonna be blank. We're gonna bring in our own UEFN text block right here, and to make this actually work, as you can see, if I try to put it on, it doesn't actually go on to it. So what we need to do is we need to use an overlay or whatever. You know, really doesn't really matter, but we'll use an overlay for this. Then we're gonna put our button, and we're also gonna put our text block inside this overlay like this. Then I'm going to make our button centered. Then I'm gonna make this minimum width higher, minimum height higher, like so, because it can only go up to 80. It's odd. And then that works. And then I'll get my text block. I'll bring it down to center it. As you can see, our text is now above the thing, so we can do blah 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 blah. And we can add our own style and everything to this button. So I might make it white with a bit of outline, make it a bit bigger, like that. You can make it as big or small as you like, and then you can do justification will be middle. You can add some skew if you want. We can then add a bit of outline. There we go. You get your own font material or your outline material. It doesn't really matter. Now, if you want to make this button text, the text of the button, that's inside of here, as you can see, this text for gold. What we need to do is we need to go into our view bindings. We need to go into widgets and add it. We're going to add the text block to the widget. And just like before, we're going to get the text, and we're going to get the view model, and we're going to get the button 1 main text, and we're going to put it inside of this text block. So now this button will now inherit the text of the HUD message device to just get gold. So now we have set up a nice little custom button. That's cool. So if I just push my changes, now if you look at this on our UI, we now have a custom button that says get gold. But you're going to notice something. When I try to go on the button, if I go over the text, you see that I can't actually select the button. It like stops selecting it, which can be a bit annoying. How to actually fix this is really simple. Just click on your text on your button down here to behavior. And then invisibility, you want to set that to non-hit testable. And now as you can see, I can now go over the button and on the text and it'll still work. So yeah, that's about it for this tutorial. I hope you like, subscribe, and use my code in the Fortnite app shop. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. And watch all of these videos for more of my tutorials. That's about it. I'll see you all around.